Moika!
Hey!
Welcome to our podcast, Mastering Finland.
I'm Jean and I'm from California.
I'm Petra and I'm from the Czech Republic.
We're here to chat about our life in Finland.
Hello, welcome back to our podcast. We are so excited to be here.
Yes,
again.
hello. And we're finally getting to this episode after all the times we've teased it.
Oh my god, finally.
Finally.
The dating.
We're
in
so
Finland.
sorry it took so long.
We've been saving it because it's such a treasure.
It really is. It is just stories of, they're just gold.
Okay. So what should we start with? That's my question.
Oh my gosh, yeah, great question. Where to begin? There's just...
Oh my god, can you please start with the Jenny story?
Before I get to the Jenny story, because that one was also kind of teased. For those of you who don't know, Petra calls me Jenny. My name is Jean, though, like Jean. But she calls me Jenny because of something that happened on a Tinder date. But before I get to that story, I do want to talk about the first Tinder date I had in Finland.
Okay.
And I... Actually, no, I'm not going to say his nickname because I don't want to give away any identifying information. Okay. I doubt he's listening, but he is in like the international kind of like community a little bit because he studied abroad. But anyways, so yeah, I matched with his guy and he was really nice. He picked me up, which now in hindsight, don't ever let someone you don't know pick you up. But me being the dummy and naive one that I am, he picked me up. And honestly, it's because I was living at that place where there were like 2 buses per hour, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to have to deal with transportation. So yeah, you could come pick me up. That was the main motivation. But so he picked me up, super nice, like gentleman, I wasn't expecting that because before I heard about like dating in Finland and how everyone is like, individualistic mindset and like you pay for your own thing and there's not really that chivalry type of attitude towards women. And so we go to a place to eat. Again, I'll take out the details. I'm like really trying hard to filter
I'm
out
laughing
details.
because I know all the details.
I know. And the details really don't matter. What matters is that as soon as we sat down, this man just kept talking and talking and talking. And before, like, I thought Finnish people were quiet and like reserved and didn't talk, but like, no, this was like the one Finnish person in Finland that did not keep his mouth shut. And he was just talking about himself and I was like, yeah. And then like at some points I was trying to like interject to be like, oh yeah, that happened to me too. And like, naturally then the other person would let the other person talk. And that's when I would start chipping into the conversation. But no, I would just be like, oh yeah, and then he like continues to talk and I'm just like eating and just listening to him. I'm not even kidding, for I want to say like at least 20 minutes straight. And so at that point, I'm just like, whatever. I'm like waving my white flag, right? Like, I give up. I don't like, this is not a conversation. I feel like he's just taking over the whole quote unquote conversation. It's not a conversation. So then finally he realizes he's talking so much. My goodness, at least he's self-aware. He's like, I feel like I've been talking so much. Why don't you tell me about you? And at that point, I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, you took all the words out of my mouth and I feel like I'm in an interview right now and I don't really know how to just randomly talk about myself on a date. Usually it's like a back and forth thing and you're talking, you know what I mean? Am I the only one that's like, isn't a conversation a back and forth thing?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like really weird. I mean, he was nice. He was really nice.
I mean, that's something you would not expect, I think, when
Completely
you would be.
not.
Yeah, we would be like, oh yeah, it was a Finnish guy, and then suddenly,
And he wouldn't stop talking. Like what? Those two things don't even go together usually. And but the
yeah,
thing is, he paid for my food, which then of course I bought dessert. Like that's like normal for me, but I didn't think anyone here would do it because I was under the impression that everyone, like you pay for your
yeah, it
own.
does for themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and which I'm not against that. But like he paid for me and then I was like, I'll get dessert and that was cool. But yeah, the whole interacting part was just like he was talking at me eventually because I was like really shutting down. But that
Oh.
was that. And so should we get to the Jenny story?
Yes, please. I'm
Okay.
just so excited about that. Please, just
Oh my
so I can
gosh.
finally take a breath because I've been keeping it secret the whole time.
Almost like a year. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
know.
so this is why Petra calls me Jenny. So Um, this is when, yeah, I joined Tinder then because I was like going through some stuff and I was like just being self-destructive, really. But I mean, this is to preface it because I would not go out on a date with such a person right now. But anyway, so this guy, he who is by the way like my height, and I'm like 152 centimeters. So or no, how do you a meter and 52? How do you guys say it? Because I was thinking
You can
in
say 152. It's fine.
okay,
It's
okay, because
okay.
we say 5'2", like 5 feet and two
Yeah,
inches,
I
and I was
know.
like, anyway, so that's irrelevant. He's short, but whatever. Um, so so we started the this wasn't the first time we met, I don't think. Yeah, it wasn't because he picked up his cousin and then he picked me up and we went to Bra. It's Bra, right? The
Yeah,
the
yeah,
club
yeah.
in Vivas Club.
The club, yeah.
Yes.
Not like a bra or what women wear, but like it's
The
called a
club.
bra and it's a club in
At
Jyväskylä,
first I
just
was
so
like,
you
wait, is
know.
it bro or bra?
That's why I
But
was like,
anyway,
why are you saying bra? What that? And then I remembered. So for all of you, it's a club
it's a
in
club.
Jyväskylä.
Yeah, which I don't like clubbing. Again, I was going through some stuff at the time. But anyway, so we go to the club and I it's like, oh no no, so sorry. Oh my goodness, back up, back up. I'm totally missing the main point of the story. So we're driving in his car. He picked me up. His cousin's in the front seat. He's driving. I'm in the back seat, and he introduces me to his cousin, and uh, and I think I say like, oh, my name is Jean, and she's like, oh, what's her name? And he says Jenny. And like I for some reason like my brain glitched or something. I don't know what happened, but I was not quick enough to correct his mistake and say like, "Oh no, my name is Jean."
I still can't get over that. Oh
And
my god, I still can't
and
get
it
over
was
that.
it was like I waited too long and I just had to own it. And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to be Jenny because I waited too long. That silence was too long. So, Jean, you're Jenny now." So, I'm like, "Okay." And I'm just like laughing inside, right? Because guys, no one usually gets my name right. But
Yeah.
usually I fix them. I like correct them. But for some reason I just didn't. So we get to the club and it's loud and we meet his cousin's friend and she's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "It's Jenny." Oh my
I
gosh,
can't
I
get over
felt
that.
so stupid. I'm like, what are you doing? But like I already lied. I couldn't be like my name's Jean to her and
Yeah.
then they're calling me Jenny. So I'm like, it's Jenny. And so I was just Jenny from the block from that night on,
Jenny from the block.
you know?
And then the best way was because we met the day after, whenever, like in a group of, girlfriends. And then she was telling us the story and we just exploded. And ever since then, we started calling her Jenny. Because, I mean, how can't you? Because obviously this is ridiculous.
I don't know. But honestly, I am just so used to people not getting my name right. Like I try everything. Sometimes I'll be like, my name is Jean, like the pants, but without the S, like jeans. But it's like sometimes I don't want to.
Without the S.
Sometimes I don't want to go to such lengths to explain such a simple name. And then like when I order at Starbucks, my goodness, like
I
once
know.
in America, I'm not kidding you. This is what was spelt on my cup: GEE. G. It's like G's, but like without the Z at the end. And
But the point is that you've got your whole collection right of like
I
pictures
do.
from Starbucks.
Yes, because no one can get it
when
right.
They always misspell.
Yes, I've
your
gotten
name.
Jane. I've gotten like Jana or something. Like people get really creative with what they hear, like with one syllable Jean, and all of a sudden there's all these different names. But I will tell you though, the Starbucks in the Oslo airport is the only place that has gotten it right so far, and they
I
spelled
was
it correctly.
so shocked.
I was shocked also. Yeah, so there you go. That's how Jenny all started. And to this day, Petra calls me Jenny and Saswati calls me Jenny, and it's just a thing now. And I answer to it. Honestly, I'll answer to anything that starts with J. Like one kid in kindergarten called me Jelly. 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 Like that's not even a name. It's something that you spread on bread. That's not even close to Jean. It's 2 syllables. It has an L. I don't understand, but I've come to accept it. I'm fine with anything that starts with J.
God, this is ridiculous. Jelly.
Jelly.
Oh, okay.
It is what it is, honestly.
Well, you know what? Just so our Jenny Jean doesn't feel that bad. Now I'm going to tell you my story.
Yes, yours is also quite the story. My goodness.
So, as Jean said, don't get into anybody's car. Don't go into anybody's apartment.
Please don't.
Why would you do that?
It's stupid.
I don't know. Well, here is my story. So, when I was with the Finnish family, au pairing for them, we lived in the forest. I was very lonely. I had no friends. I had nobody. It's been already like 3 months since I moved there, and the closest friend was the bunny jumping.
This is like a setup for a horror movie or something.
I know, but it was not. I mean, the horror came from my own, trying to meet people, intentions. So I had the Tinder, and then matched some dude, and he sort of spoke English, but not too much. But I learned a bit of Finnish, so we just created this Finglish conversation. And I was desperate, let's be honest. I was very lonely.
I feel you.
So it was just like, okay, I'm going to meet him. And by the time I had a car that I could use, so I just drove to basically his place. And then we were outside. It was -20.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we just like, it started, then we stood for a bit, and then he said, oh, okay, so should we go for a walk? I know that, just to tell you, Finnish people are usually quite short, but he was like genuinely like 2 meters tall. And so you can imagine, he started walking fast pace, and I was running next to him.
Dear.
I'm telling you, and I was laughing. And he was like, what's up? What's up? And I was like, no, it's okay. And I was already imagining myself telling it to my best friend, how she's laughing at me. Because already then I felt so ridiculous. And I was just running next to him. Meanwhile, he was walking like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So we did that for maybe like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then he was like, okay, so do you want to go to mine? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. He didn't look like serious killer. So, then I was like, I mean, serious killer. Very nice. He was not that serious, and he didn't look like serial killer. So I was like, all right, then I'm going to go. So then I came into his house. He put on TV. It was like this small apartment, like a studio, but a bit bigger, because he had like separate kitchen.
Okay.
And then he's like, do you want some food? And I was like, no, I'm fine. And then I sat on the sofa, and there was TV on. It was Top Gear. I strictly remember that. He went to the kitchen and he never came back. And I was sat there. Well, he did eventually after the Top Gear episode finished, which for those who don't know how long Top Gear episodes are, they're around probably half an hour. So I sat there by myself, sort of laughing at myself, but also being scared if he's just like getting ready his knives to just cut me off or whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he came back because I was like, I'm not going to go to him. I mean, sorry, I'm not doing it. So I just sat there, watched the Top Gear, and then he came back when the Top Gear finished. I stood up and I said, well, I think I'm gonna go.
This was nice.
And he
but,
said, okay, bye. And I left. So basically the thing out of it I got was I got a bit of exercise and I got to watch Top Gear with Finnish subtitles. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but it happened, and
It's so weird. Who just leaves a person in the?
I guess it's just the Finnish. I don't know. I still can't explain that, like,
phenomenon
in my head. Even like I don't get it still, but it had happened. It was, now I'm laughing at it, but at that point, when I got out, I was like, oh my god, I'm so glad he didn't kill me or something, because it got really weird.
Oh my goodness, that is
But
so
well,
weird.
I know.
But
How
yes.
weird is that? So that's that. I mean, then I was in such a weird mood. Let's make it even worse, right? So this is not the worst part of it. And then there was another dude with whom I was texting. I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm not going to have ruined evening. I already made the effort.
This is with another person.
I basically get out of the apartment and I called the other dude. I never spoke to him like on the phone. We just texted, but I called him and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm at home. And I was like, all right, do you want to meet? And he's like, yes. Can you come here? And I was like, yes, whatever. And then I met him and there was like a McDonald's next to it. So he got a coffee or I got a coffee or whatever. I don't remember. And he was like, do you want to come to my place? And I was like, did I learn from the previous experience? Yes, I'm going to come.
Oh, to be fair, not much time passed.
So, there was not enough time for the reflection that you would learn from your mistakes.
Right.
So of course I went to his apartment, and then he was like, do you want a cake? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, it's my birthday today. And I was like, happy birthday. And then he was like, so do you want to stay over the night? And I was like, yeah, I don't do it straight away when I meet people. And I was like, all right. So I finished my cake and I left.
Oh my god.
And I went home and that was the evening.
Maybe it's because you were in the forest. Maybe
I mean, when you spend 3 months only with kids who are like 3 years old and 0, I mean,
0.
It gets to you, I think.
Honestly, it gets to you even in the city, but I can't even imagine what it's like in the forest.
And like I genuinely didn't meet anybody else except the parents and the 2 kids.
And the bunny.
And also I met a moose in the forest. It was another traumatic story,
Moose.
but the point is that, you know, it gets to you, and I was very, very lonely, and it was not. I mean, you can see that I was not clearly thinking. I mean, I would never do anything like that.
You know
but
what?
Then I just was like that because I just was so desperate.
I completely understand everything you said. The loneliness, the desperation, how you were not acting like yourself or whatever.
Normally.
I completely agree. I think it's just how it is, like the vibes in Finland. You just feel very lonely here.
I know.
Like it just takes more effort, I feel like, to make connections. And I mean, we've talked about this already, but it's just so hard to like organically get there, and if you do want something, you have to like work so hard. And
I mean, and there are like I have few little stories with like I met a few times with different Finnish guys, and it never really clicked
everywhere.
because there was like always something weird. Either it was like the language barrier, or it was sort of the social awkwardness of the whole thing,
Yeah.
or just didn't work.
Right.
And there was actually one that was so funny. He was in the army at that point, and we were texting, and it was before I met my boyfriend, current boyfriend now.
Okay.
But then it was Christmas. I went home back to Czech, and we were texting and whatsoever. And then I got back, and then I started talking to my current boyfriend. And the point that I started talking to him was because I saw that he has English name, and I was like, oh my god, finally someone who is not Finnish. It was genuinely my reaction. That was genuinely why I was like so excited to talk to this random man who was not Finnish.
Right.
This random man is now my boyfriend. But that's why. And I was so excited, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy that I don't have to deal with that thing anymore. Or at least with this person, because it's so exhausting. It's been so exhausting. I don't know. And even though, I even spent some time with the Czech person in Finland. But he turned to be another psycho situation. So
those psycho ones. Yeah.
I mean, what can you do?
What can you do?
But you learn from your mistakes. Now I know that.
Certainly do.
And I am, and at the end, that's why I didn't end up with Finnish man, because it was just too weird. And I am probably too outgoing for a Finnish man in general. The only Finnish man I managed to meet on the dates, it was actually when I started talking to my boyfriend, now current boyfriend, and at the same time I talked to this other dude who like grew up in China and then moved around with his parents, like something basically what you had, Jean, like third culture child, and like really traveled, and he was not very Finnish. But I was already sort of falling for my boyfriend, so I was very on. I went and I met him, and he was really nice and everything, but it just didn't click. Which it happens.
It happens.
But I was very honest with him, and I was like, "Hey, I don't think, I will be glad to be friend with you." But
and that's I feel like that's the best way to do it. I wish I had done that with the guy who wouldn't stop talking. Like he was a good person, but I kind of ghosted him, and I still feel bad about it. And I saw him around town like afterwards, and it was awkward. But yeah, definitely honesty is the best way to go.
But it was good because he was like, thanks for the honesty, but I'm not really looking for a friend.
Right.
And I was
yeah.
like,
And
yes,
he's also honest. Like, let's all just be adults about it.
And I was like, I get it. And I'm sorry. And I hope you'll find somebody who will, appreciate who you are. And so that was very nice. And and now that reminded me of the army person that, because I didn't finish that because I got carried away. So when I told him that, and I basically started talking to him way before I started talking to my current boyfriend, and we were just like sending each other voice messages, and it was just like there was no feelings as such, but it was so nice to sort of have somebody to talk to. And let's be honest, everyone likes the attention that there's like somebody with whom you can sort of share daily things. And even it doesn't have to be that someone you're falling like in love with, but
platonic, not romantic. Yeah definitely.
And then he just threw proper like psychotic thing. He just screamed at me.
Oh my gosh! Okay, that took a turn. I was
what do you think? I wasted half a year with you, and now you tell me this, and like it was proper. Like I did not expect that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I mean, so eventually I had to block him because I was
that bad.
Worried about what is going to come from that side. And that's basically the end of the whole struggle. by meeting somebody who's English and not Finnish.
Yes. So moral
Yeah.
of the story is whatever you guys take out of it, but it's
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
very
saying I know
different.
many couples who are very happy with their Finnish half, and I'm very
Totally.
happy for them, but
Yes.
it seems that is not for me.
I think it's safe to say that for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when you swipe on Tinder here, I mean, this is my first time on Tinder. It was in Finland, so like I have nothing to compare it to,
Mine
but
too.
like I'm sure it's everywhere the same. Like there are people who are just looking for hookups, usually the ones that don't have a bio, that's just empty.
Oh, really?
It's usually just like hookup or something, or if you know, it's if they specifically say I'm not looking for just a friend or I'm looking for, a serious relationship, then you can like take them seriously, but otherwise like don't. I would say that's just based on my like observations of things. And then there's like a lot of people who are into like they're like couples who are looking for that extra person. Yes,
Really?
I've seen so many of those. And this is
What?
all me swiping in Uvascula. So in
Oh
Uvascula is,
my
a
god.
relatively smaller city. So like
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. One night on a very lonely, lonely series of nights, I kid you not, I swiped through all the available men
Oh my
in
god.
in I guess in Uvascular or whatever radius and age set limit I set, I ran out of men that night because I swiped so much. But just to give you a general idea of how lonely it gets here,
Yeah.
you have a lot of time to swipe. But yeah, there's those like couples who are looking for a little bit of extra loving, and then there are people who just straight up hook up or serious relationship or who are in an open relationship. Like there were several that I
Ah,
came
yeah.
across, and I actually, talked to one that was in an open relationship, and I just don't. I'm a very jealous type, so maybe that's why it would never work for me. But I just never really quite like. I read about it. I was like trying to understand, but I can't quite wrap my head around, or I personally wouldn't be able to get comfortable
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that,
me neither.
right?
Me
Like
neither.
it would drive me
Mm.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, there are I don't know, what do you think of Finnish guys in general? Like
The rule applies as to when we talk to, getting a Finnish friend, I think. Just if the person had some time to spend with international people and travel and, do Erasmus. And these are usually just people who have international partners.
yeah, agree. Based
Because
on
otherwise, yeah, there is no. And also, I think there is lots of, and also Finnish women that I've talked to Finnish women, and they're very strong personalities, Finnish women, and very independent.
right,
And many of them whom I talk to, it might not apply to the whole population,
right.
but they were saying that Finnish men are just like they can't sort of like show themselves, and they're like emotionally
Right.
unavailable, and
I've heard that too from Finnish
yeah,
girls.
there is lots of this and this emotional like difficulties to express themselves, which comes what I've heard from their families a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually one Finnish dude with whom I spent like few months sort of being friends slash dating. I mean, it was a bit weird, but he had very like difficult childhood, and you could see that all these issues are coming from family background. And it seems to be common that especially the boys are brought up or were brought up here with this like sort of emotional distance, and you're probably a boy and you should not do this, and that's how. And the dads were obviously similar, so
Right. It
where
just
else would they learn
passed down.
from?
I feel like that's also common in like the Eastern world, like Asian culture, where the man is supposed to, never show emotions because that's a sign of weakness. And maybe that's where like the connection with or fascination with like m- Asia, but Japan
Yeah,
specifically comes
yeah.
because didn't you say you had like a story about
Yeah, I have very close Japanese friend. We met on Erasmus, and she shared some stories with me. And she really was not like looking for like men to date. She was at that point 19. You know, she also Japanese, so very like quite conservative. You know, to say, and
Mhm.
not really being like, oh, I'm hooking up with everybody because I'm in Europe and I'm on my Erasmus and that's what I'm doing. So she was very like this cute, you know, nice person, and she got talked to a lot by Finnish men, mainly
Really?
because she was Japanese. And when the point when they realized that she was Japanese, just like she was friends with somebody and that somebody had a friend, and when they mentioned she's Japanese, they suddenly start wanting to talk to her. And because there are so many men who are into, as we said, like in the previous episodes, that like anime and this, you know, Japanese culture
Yeah,
and
yeah.
language and everything. And it's sort of, I feel they just, that's their goal, that okay, I'm gonna find a Japanese person because that's what I'm fascinated with, and
They're
that's the
just
only
the
thing. And it was funny that I became so close friends with them because we were completely the opposites
Mhm, mhm.
in that situation.
Opposites
But
attract. Yeah.
yeah, it was the situation that opposite attracted, and we just loved each other, and we are still in contact, and it's really amazing.
We need to interview my Japanese friend. She's here studying PhD or in a PhD program, and I'm sure she's been here for several years now, so she must have a little bit more insight into like why
That's
the
true.
Japanese culture and Finnish culture have like this thing together, or like an understanding.
Yeah, and it's general. Like Japanese are also fascinated with Finland,
Exactly. I
and
feel
as
like
we
it's a
said,
mutual fascination.
yeah, with all the brands and movements
Mm,
and marimekko and you know
yes.
everything like that, it's sort
Style.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, both sided
Yeah.
fascination.
Totally. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But
It really is.
but yeah, every time like when I was on Tinder, I always wondered like, are you interested in me because I'm Asian or like
Yeah,
what's your angle here? Because I remember
yeah.
one of our other friends who's Indian, and I think she talked about this on her podcast, was like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she felt or not felt, it was clear in the conversations that
Mm-hmm.
they were interested in her because she was Indian, you know?
Yeah.
So like I mean, it's nice and all that you want to learn about the culture or that you like a certain culture, but when that's the only identifying thing about the person, then it's like, well, I'm more than just, my ethnicity and look beyond that. And yeah, so, dating is probably more or less the same, but I think the interactions probably is different here with the whole like social interaction part is different. And I've heard that Finnish dating is it kind of starts off casually and then it kind of like turns into something serious, but it just kind of morphs into it organically, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I
Because
heard as well.
right, because it truly was a mystery to me as to how they approached the whole dating game. But yeah, it's very much just kind of like go with the flow kind of thing. And there are so many videos and like things about
Yeah,
it
I
on
know.
YouTube. But that was our experience, and I'm so glad
Nobody
that
please get
that is
offended.
yes. Don't get offended. This is just our experience, and I'm sure honestly, I really want to hear what other people's experience is. Like
Yeah.
it really is so interesting how it's so different in different like contexts in different parts
Mm.
of the world, but especially Finland where the social part is so new to a lot of us foreigners. And yeah. But
Yeah, I
but
think we sort of, you know, we finally blurbed out all that we sort of promised to blurb and tell
yes.
and share. And now you know Jenny's story, and now you know my freaking stories. And so, yeah, take away from it whatever you do. You know, don't judge us too much. And yeah.
All right, so we also wanted to give some insight into the dating experience of someone in the LGBTQ community. And for that, we have our lovely Raul, who was on the podcast before, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his dating experience in Finland. Okay, Raul, so tell us about your dating experience in Finland. Where did you meet people? Let's start off with that.
So for me, it was mostly through apps. Prior to going to Finland, I never was on apps. But as soon as I got there, I kind of felt like that's how I was going to meet people because Jyväskylä is a pretty small place. It's a pretty small city. Um, I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as calling it a city. I'd call it a town. But
Mhm.
I got to Finland, and as a gay man, and going to Jyväskylä, which being a small town, doesn't really have much of a gay life. There isn't, there aren't gay clubs, there aren't gay bars. I felt like right away like it was going to be difficult for me to meet people, so I immediately downloaded apps, and I was mostly on Tinder, um, trying to meet people and go on dates with people, and that's how I'd say like I met most people that I went out with.
Okay. And what was the dating part like? Is there a particular, um, maybe like a story that you can share? It could be an awkward moment or something that surprised you about dating in Finland.
Oh, I collect awkward moments. There's so many.
They're the best.
I'd say generally, yeah, no, they are the best. And some of my stories, but basically, um, my dating experience in Finland was, I'd say, mostly awkward. Like, what's one word to describe your dating experience in Finland? I'd say awkward. Um, Generally speaking, social rules are different in Finland. Social rules of
Mhm.
behavior, how people are, expected to behave when they're, for example, talking to you. Um,
Mhm.
it's very common that they'll be, for example, quiet and not as talkative. The whole, you're an interlocutor, like I'm talking, and you're like, oh yeah, great, and you ask questions, right? Like many Finns will not do that. They'll just
Right,
be
you have a
kind of like more
conversation.
quiet
Mhm.
as you're talking. Or I found that, like in my experience, it was either, as we say in Portuguese, like 8 or 80. It was always like extremes. Either I would
Mm.
go on a date with someone who turned out to be really quiet and shy and not talk a lot and show like awkwardness and being uncomfortable while being there, or it'd be someone who was like really internationally minded and really talkative and really loud, and that would also be sometimes like a lot for me, and I was like, and this is for
Mhm.
me, I'm not a quiet person.
Right.
I don't think of myself as super loud, like annoyingly loud, but for Finnish standards, I'm pretty sure I am annoyingly loud.
I mean, you socialize, like, yeah.
Yeah, I socialize. I enjoy my time, around people and meeting
Right.
people. So,
Right.
but yes. So what happened then with dating was that, you know, not only do people have different rules that they go by when they're meeting people, which was in the beginning especially like harder for me to figure out, but also
Mhm.
being gay is not something that's maybe, a seen um
Mhm.
positively in Finland. Once I heard from a guy that
Oh.
I dated, that, and this is his wording, not mine, that being gay is one of the biggest disgraces and shames that you can bring onto your family, like in
In
Finland.
Finland.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
this is what this person told me. Like I'm just repeating what they told me.
Is this a Finnish person or
This
a
is a Finnish
foreigner?
person. This is a Finnish person.
Okay.
And generally speaking,
Okay.
like just after this, talking to guys that I've dated who are Finns, there was always this component of people telling me about their life story and being like I don't feel comfortable taking a boyfriend to my mom and dad, or like my dad
Oh.
doesn't fully accept me, or I don't want to really flaunt it, so I don't want to like holding hands in public is never, I think, a thing, period, whether it's straight or gay.
Mm.
um
Mhm.
but
True.
especially being gay, like people try to I was always under the impression people were trying to hide the fact that they were on a date. They didn't want
Mm.
to make it
Mhm.
too obvious that they were on a date. So it never
Yeah.
felt like, dates never felt particularly romantic or cozy. They always felt a little
Gotcha.
uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
There were the rare exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
and that's everything I'm saying here is not to say that like that some of the guys that I went out with weren't great people, who were really great to be around sometimes, even especially once they warmed up to you. But generally speaking, dates would be kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Yeah,
Yeah. And did you feel safe being gay here in, a gay person in Finland?
for the most part, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I never felt particularly threatened for being gay. Nobody ever, said anything to me on the streets. Nobody ever.
Mhm.
But then again, I mean, I'm very clearly gay, but I'm not very feminine in that, like, I don't sissy my walk down the main road, like, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like if you see me on the street walking, you can't immediately go and tell, like, oh, yeah, this is a gay man.
Right.
And even if you
Right. Right.
did, I'm a scary gay man because I'm like 6'3" and I'm massively
You're
large, and
tall. Raul is very tall.
I'm
It's true. Yes.
yeah, I'm tall and I'm big and I look like a foreigner, which also in Finland I find is something that people sometimes are a little scared of. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very clearly a foreigner. I'm not white and blonde, right? So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. Right.
yeah, being from
Yeah.
Brazil, I look, as people would perhaps say in some cultures, like I look Latino. So,
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, so what was I saying? I have this.
That's
What is
okay.
wrong with me?
That's okay. So, like, well, I asked you, like, if you felt safe,
Yeah, yeah.
being a gay person in
So
Finland.
I didn't feel particularly threatened. There were a couple of instances where things happened, and I wondered, like, is this happening because I'm gay?
Mm.
Like this one time at the club, I was dancing. There was like a pole at the club, and I started dancing. Like I started working the pole, which you can imagine, Gene, like knowing me, what that would have been like.
Oh my
And then all of a
goodness.
sudden, someone threw a glass at me.
Oh
Um,
my
and I
gosh.
Yeah, and I never knew like where that came from, and I was like, "What's happening?" And this was a
That's
first because I
horrible.
travel quite a bit. I've been many places, and I've never had someone throw anything at me. And this one time, it was a straight club, and someone threw a glass at me, like on my head,
No way.
and it came from behind me. It came from behind me, which, like, to me, it wasn't something that, like, I don't think someone just went crazy and threw their glass up, and it accidentally fell on my face. It felt like it was
Right. It was
thrown to
intentional.
hit me.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
at that point, of course, like, it hurt. And I was like, well, what
Yeah.
happened? First of all, like, where is this
Yeah.
coming from? Thankfully, when you go to clubs and bars in Finland, they don't really use glass cups, right? So it didn't break and hurt me. Um,
Okay.
but it did, like, it of course hurt. So I looked,
Right.
around me, and I was like, what happened? Who threw this? And I couldn't really spot who the person was. And then I was like, what, like, why would this happen? Who would do this in the first place? And why would they do this? And then I realized,
Yeah.
like, am I maybe being too gay? But this is just, I think, part of the gay experience. You're always questioning yourself, like, am I maybe being too gay? And am I being maybe like too
Right.
on people's face? That was
Mm-hmm.
like, for being gay, maybe the only time that I felt threatened. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but generally speaking, I feel like even though I felt mostly safe, being in
Yeah.
a place where you cannot fully be yourself and you have to be on a date but pretending like you're not on a date, and you can be dating someone but you cannot be holding their, like, hand in public,
Right. Yeah.
it doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
super safe, right? Like, why would people not
Mm-hmm.
simply
Mm-hmm.
just be okay with it? And when people tell you,
Right.
oh, being gay in Finland is not something that people, you know, see as particularly positive, or like that people like, or that people are proud of. Even like gay people, they're not
Mm-hmm.
always super proud of who they are. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really feel 100% safe. Now, mind you, I think Jyväskylä is also very, it's it's only one reality. Finland is much larger, and I feel like in cities like Helsinki, especially, but also like Turku and Tampere, like the experience would be
Tampere.
completely
Yeah.
different.
True. True. And yes, this is based on Howell's experience in Uvascula. So,
Right.
is there are there any tips that you could, impart some wisdom to people who might be in the same, boat as you when they come to Finland and they're interested in
Um,
seeking out dating?
yeah, I mean, I never went to Finland. Like, it wasn't my aim to go to Finland and date, right? It was more of a thing of like, I want to meet people. Um,
Right.
I would say, as a gay man, if you are coming into Finland, I would say definitely consider a larger city. I'm not joking. Like,
Mm,
I really liked the University of Jyväskylä. I wouldn't trade it for the world. The university was fantastic. But as a gay man, I wouldn't necessarily go back or recommend Jyväskylä as a place to live, unless, of course, you're already like you have someone that you're coming with.
right.
Someone, a partner, a boyfriend. You're coming as a
Yeah.
couple.
Yeah.
But yes, if you do happen to like hear this, or still ignore what I'm saying and go to a small town as a gay man, I would say definitely go on the apps. Don't
Mhm.
have really high expectations for the
Mhm.
dates, at least. I'm sorry, not for the dates.
Mhm.
Like, the people are, you'll meet great people as you do, anywhere. You'll meet people who aren't great, and that also happens anywhere. You'll meet
Exactly.
bigots, you'll meet racists, you'll meet people who are boring, you'll meet people who are uninteresting, and this is just a part of
Yes.
dating. Um,
Exactly.
but I would say, like, don't have very high expectations for like people going out of their way to impress you or being romantic or um, you know even being like
Yeah.
really like smiley and talkative on their first date with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And I hope
Yeah.
people prove me wrong. I hope you go on a date and you have a fantastic time with someone who's super, super romantic and nice and cute and talkative and friendly. And,
Yeah.
as I did. I did
Absolutely.
have these dates, but they weren't by far the norm.
The norm. Right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Raul, for giving us insight into that and sharing your experience. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you so much to Raul for sharing his experience and stories with us. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
yes,
It was really nice to hear.
and we're so glad that we were able to finally do this. This was on our list for the longest time, and we were so excited to finally be able to record it and share everything with you guys. So thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you. And have a nice day, and let's hear you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.